So at EntreLeadership Summit, one of the top talks this year was from our own Dr. John Deloney, who has a PhD in counseling. And, we're all in there talking about leadership and how to do better, how to grow the business. And he says, let's make sure we stay connected to the home front. Let's make sure we stay connected to our spouse and our kids, and let's not lose our families while we're building a business, which we all kind of know, and we do actually know, and we do actually believe, but we don't stop and say it. And he says it so well that he grabs you around the throat and gets the emotions and gets the heart going. And consequently, it was extremely popular talk this year. And that's one of the reasons his show is exploding on the Ramsey networks, too. If you haven't listened to the Dr. John Deloney show, you ought to. It's not only highly entertaining, but it's motivational for all of us. Very, very cool stuff. So we took a video of a guy right after that talk who wanted to ask a question on this show. His name is James. And he's referring to understanding your goal and not sacrificing your family at the same time to do it, which is kind of a standard thing. And how I brought my son Daniel into the president's role here at Ramsey over a decade, and how we fostered the relationship throughout the time here in the business. So here's the question from James from Wisconsin.
All right, I'm James Sullivan from Ellsworth, Wisconsin, where I work at United Dredging. We have about 30 team members and revenue around $10 million a year. What we just heard from John Deloney was just amazing. How convicting to hear that you need to have a line to finish at and know when enough is enough, but not trade your spouse and your home life, or really to the young single guys that work with us, what's your end goal, and don't trade what your end goal is to the means that you're using to get there. I put a lot of time in at work, and then I go home and I do projects. And I find myself probably absent more than I need to be. I would ask him something along the lines of what I just heard from John Deloney, how he's built the time to bring his son along. I have 4 little boys at home. So how do you build that time in, and where he's drawn the lines of intentionality and doing that. It was awesome to hear that he eats breakfast with him every Tuesday and has built and fostered that relationship and ultimately that legacy that he's leaving to his kids. And I'd love to have gifts like that to give my children when they're older, just pouring into them. And it may never be a business, but what's my legacy going to look like? And I want to build it like his.
Wow, James. My first question is, what's a guy from Wisconsin doing wearing an Alabama hat? That's my first question. So I'm still confused, but you guys will have to go back and watch the video a little bit later. But, oh my gosh. Well, I mean, there's a couple of things he's kind of woven into what he was saying there. One is how we've worked with our the Ramsey kids. We call them. They're in their 30s, so they're not kids. Inside the business, how have we communicated? How have we handled that? And then and then Dr. John Deloney was talking about, you got little kids at home, don't sacrifice them on the altar of success and time with them. So there's a couple of things that always come to mind. Let's go back to the early years when the children are little and you're trying to run a business. How do you do that in the middle of that? There's a lot of different things that we did along the way, and no one single thing was the silver bullet for sure. And we certainly weren't perfect as we did it. One thing we figured out was that watching television is not spending time with your family. So when you come home at 5 o'clock so that you can spend time with your family and the television's on all night, you didn't spend time with your family. Stop it. Throw a brick through this stupid thing. You're just making Netflix a living now. I mean, I'm not saying the devil is in the TV. I'm not saying it's horrible to have a TV in your home or something, but in most houses, people watch 3 hours a day of television and then wonder why they can't connect to their children because they work too much. No, it's because you got the stupid TV on too much is why. And so turn TV off and lay your phone and close your computer and lay your phone in a basket and don't pick them back up. When you're home, by God, be home. Don't have one foot back at the office through your stupid phone, or be entertaining yourself with ridiculous Instagram reels instead of with your 3-year-old. That's so screwed up, it's unbelievable. And it's destroying the fabric of the family. These screens, screen time. And it's doing a bunch of other damage too that I'm not going to get into right now. But again, I'm not on some kind of rampage. I just think you can't tell me you're working too much to see your family when your TV's on all the time. Because your work's not your problem, your TV is. That's one thing we figured out. The second thing we figured out is that I had to stop for 3 minutes at the front of the driveway and change my hats before I went in the house. Because I've been wearing the kill it and drag it home hat. I've got the sword out, and it's got blood on it. And I got gunpowder smoke on me. I've been shooting everything and stabbing everything in sight for the last 45 minutes. And then I walk in, I'm supposed to deal with a 5-year-old gently. Doesn't work. So I knew I had to stop at the front of the driveway and reset. And then when I walk in, as the pioneers did of old, or the soldier of old would do, I take the sword off and put it above the mantle. And it stays there until the next morning when I buckle it back on and go back to work. I don't use the same tools with my family that I use at work. And that's when the kids are little. Then that gives me the opportunity to be a right kind of dad and a right kind of mom and a right kind of time spent. And then we can talk about learning to work, teaching kids to work age appropriately. We don't put 4-year-olds in the salt mine, but they do need to learn to make their own dadgum bed and pick up their own toys. I'm not your butler. I'm your father. And you will brush your teeth because I'd like for you to have some later. They're handy when you're old. So if you want teeth, you have to brush them. So we go through these processes of parenting and set the stage on this as we go along. And so we were old school parents, and I know some of you you're fine raising anarchists, but I'm not. The inmates didn't run the asylum. And when the grandbabies visit Papa Dave, they get spoiled, but they also mind. They're not confused about who's in charge of the house, and it's not them, it's me. And I'm not mean about it, but we're just not confused about how authority flows and what you do. And it structures a young person's character then to be able to enter the workplace because there's authority in the workplace too. And turns out you can't play beer pong all morning at work like you did in college. There's authority in the workplace. You actually have to get your work done. And so all of that sets the stage for then when they start entering the business. And what we've done at Ramsey, we've talked about it many times on this podcast, was we've treated our Ramsey family members that work inside the business with the exact same dignity that we treat our team members, which is great dignity. If you work at Ramsey, we treat you extremely well. And we expect a lot of you. And we're kind to you. We don't yell and scream and cuss at people around here. We don't do that. But we, by God, get our work done too. We got a lot of very important work we're doing, and we need to get it done. And it needs to be done with excellence. We don't need to be, talking about, we're Christian this, and then if you're going to put a fish on the back of it, drive it right. You better bring it. And so this is what we're doing. And the kids, they're the same way. Only I told our kids, they would work book tables and stuff when they were teenagers at one of the events. And I told them, if you're going to be a Ramsey and you're going to be around the Ramsey thing, you're going to have to work twice as hard as everybody else just to be respected. And you're going to be really better just to even be looked at as capable, because they're going to automatically assume that you're a doofus, that you're the boss's kid who's useless. And if you give them any clues that that's true, they'll believe it. So never let them have a clue that that's true. You've got to super bring it for your own sake, for your own reputation, for your own effectiveness in the marketplace and in the workplace. And to their credit, they have. They bring it. They work. And they're good at what they do. And they're wise beyond their years. And they've done a great job. I'm really proud of them. And so over the years, we've done that. And yes, he's right. In the video, he asked, what do I do? Daniel and I have had breakfast the entire time he's worked here. Father-son breakfast, not a boss employee breakfast every Tuesday morning at 7 o'clock. We're changing that right now. We're getting ready to change it. We're going to start doing lunch instead. But after 10 years, you ought to change something, so it's good. But, we've done that and sometimes we discuss business, sometimes we discuss football, sometimes we discuss grandbabies, sometimes we discuss family trip coming up, whatever. We should just father-son breakfast, right? And then later on in the week, a year and a half ago, he became the president of the company. I'm the CEO. And so he reports to me for the first time since he's worked here. And so I have a direct one-on-one with him that we go through once a week. And that's president to CEO. And it's 100% business. When he's in the room and he and I we were working on a problem earlier today in one of our areas, and we were analyzing the business case that one of these areas was bringing to us on something we thought sucked. And both of us kind of looked at each other and went, this sucks. And then we got to explain it to the VP that it sucks. So anyway, it worked out. But we get in the room and argue together, and argue sometimes on the same side and sometimes not, and fight through a problem and work through those, challenges, which is every stinking day in business, right? And so, but we're never at each other. We're always at the problem. Our job here is to beat the problem up. I don't really care about your opinion. All I care is we want to call the right play to put the ball in the end zone because we're trying to win the Super Bowl. That's all I care about. And I'm not arguing about you or your issues. I'm arguing about the play. Did you call the right play, or are we calling the right play? That's all I want to know. And because that's what we're just trying to get effective work done. And so it's healthy conflict and healthy roles and lots 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 of communication. And none of it involves Facebook, Instagram, or texting. It's human-to-human interaction. It is not good that man be alone. Did you people not learn that during the pandemic? When these buttholes locked you in your house and you couldn't see other humans? Did you not learn that these relationships matter? They matter. Direct relationships matter. Don't ever let them do that to you again. It matters. And it matters in your family, and it matters inside your organization, and it matters for productivity, and it matters for connectivity to the customer. And I think that we're going to see a disgust rise up following the pandemic, which opened our eyes, and we realized that Zoom is not the answer to any equation. And we realized that Facebook friends aren't real friends. Real friends help you change a tire at 2 in the morning in the rain. And let me just tell you, there's a stinking soul on Facebook going to do that. So, and if some of you said to your neighbor in person what you said about them on the HOA Facebook page, they would break your freaking nose, and you would deserve it. But you've got all this digital courage, and that's a part of the breakdown of this relationship stuff too. And people are getting disgusted with it, and so we're going to see a revolution in this country that's going to be awesome. A renaissance in this country that's going to be awesome, where people are rejecting the overuse of these screens in substitution for real relationships in the workplace, in the family, with the little kids, and with the grown kids in the business. And that, James, is how we did this. That's exactly how we did this. This is the EntreLeadership Podcast.